All right, next up to the main event here. Really excited about this. Having our portfolio review panel up here. Thank you to those of you who submitted your portfolios. Wish we had more time, but today we're mainly going to have time to look at 3 of them today. And with that, I'm going to let our panelists introduce themselves. So there's not a quick way for me to unmute. Wade, you're unmuted. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, we'll get it started here.
Sure. My name is Wade Shearer. I'm a co-founder of Product Hive. I'm also a product and design leader. I've been working at startups and enterprise companies for 20 years now. Most recently at Workfront, where I was leading the user experience team, and also the founder of the Front Conference. It's been a sad year having to have canceled everything, but we're looking forward to 2021.
Nice. Thanks, Wade. Appreciate you doing this for us. Yeah, Chantal.
Hi, my name is Chantal. I am the director of UX at Chatbooks. We are currently 100% remote, as many companies are, and I just returned from maternity leave into this remote circus. So it's been an interesting adjustment. We have a small-ish team, but it's a lot of fun, and we lead our teams with in experienced teams. So we're all disciplines are on one team, trying to create the best product we can as a team.
Great. Thanks, Chantal. And last but not least, Caleb.
My name is Caleb Tracy, and I'm the Director of User Experience at Master Control. I've been there for a little over 3 months, so just as all the COVID stuff hit, my first day was the day everyone had transitioned to working from home, and I haven't really been into the office in my entire tenure there. So it's been an adventure. Before that, I led one of the teams at the LDS Church and worked in a number of capacities there. I've actually had the opportunity to work with Wade and Chantal both in past employment, and I'm excited to be here today. Great.
Well, thanks a lot. So the way we're going to do this today is our panelists have not seen these portfolios yet. So what we wanted to do is just kind of give you a sense of like what happens when a hiring manager pulls up your portfolio. And so, you know, I'm going to send them the link like right before this, and they're going to pull it up and start to talk through it. And it's almost, you know, like a usability test for a portfolio. And so you're going to really get to see in real time here kind of how they scroll through it, and they're going to talk out loud for us, give us their reactions. And so we'll do 3 of these here. And so,
all right,
first piece of feedback.
Here we go. All right. Website for Tamara, designing mobile and web apps with UX best practices and accessibility. Looks like primarily mobile experience. I like to research, learn, and create. I'm a recent graduate from the University of Utah's multidisciplinary design program. I have 2.5 years of UX research and design experience. Where? And is this experience at the U, or is this actual working experience? A couple of internships, freelance projects. I'm ready to take on new challenges. It sounds like you just graduated. Yeah, it looks like she's just wrapping up at the U just this spring. So looks like she's just a brand new graduate. Awesome. So that would make me assume that most of this stuff is schoolwork. Let's see. My first frustration is that I have no idea if this is schoolwork or actual work that you were paid for. This is an app for students, but I don't know if it's fictional. I don't know if it's classwork. That's really frustrating. I want to know if this was an assignment or if this was actual work. Let's see here. Okay. Next thing here, again, same thing. So same feedback. I don't know what I'm looking at here. I don't know if this is schoolwork or if this is something you were paid for.
Yeah.
Then the next question that I would have is, what was your role? I would want this front and center. I did this with a team at X company, or I did this with a team in X class, or I did this on my own as a self-promotion piece. That's just front and center that I want to see, because otherwise I'm frustrated. I'm scrolling up and down and I'm trying to find that, because even before I'm going to dig in, I need to know what your contributions were. You know, even just this visual design right here, this interface right in front of me, is this your graphic design work? Was this somebody else on the team? Did you just do the information architecture? Were you just a copywriter on this? I don't know. Let's
Wade, can you we got a question in the chat. I think it's good. What can you talk about why it's important to know whether it's schoolwork versus paid work?
The biggest reason is schoolwork is just green field. You can do whatever you want, and so the limitations are very different. When it's actual paid work, you have constraints of budgets and the customer telling you what you can and can't do, existing products, you know, where and the existing infrastructure around what you can and can't do. None of those constraints exist generally with schoolwork. I guess I shouldn't say they never do. There might be some classworks where they give you some constraints that you have to work within, but most of the stuff that I see in most classwork and boot camps and things, they just say, hey, go pick something, go redesign Spotify, and you go and you just do whatever you want. And so it's very, very different. And I'm not sure how I'm stuck in some weird zooming here, but so going back in here, let's see if you do talk about what your role was.
Yeah, and Caleb and Chantel, feel free to chime in here as well if you have any.
Yeah, so that's the next item. Number one, is this schoolwork or is this professional? The next item is what is your contribution? And I'm not seeing that here at all. And so that, to me, honestly, I just kind of give up and move past it, because I'm going to assume that that you didn't do this all yourself. And that's just because most of the time you're working with other people at a company, or most of the time you're working with a group at school. So it's very rare that this is all your work. And if it is all of your work, you're really missing out on something here, because if you're the one that is doing the research here and doing the visual design, boy, I'd want to know. So I'd want that front and center.
Yeah, right. That's great. Wade, can you unmute Chantal? I don't have control anymore, but I think she might have had thought. And while you're doing that, another question came in. If you're a student and you did every part of the project, what language should you use in describing your role? So how would you prefer that to be described?
Just as straightforward as possible. Say, hey, this was schoolwork. This was a class assignment. this was the assignment that we did, and this is the role that I played. I was the copywriter on this. I did the research on this. I was the visual designer. I did the whole thing end to end. It doesn't need to be complex. Just state it.
Sure.
Can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of recent graduates put up their schoolwork and they did define their roles, but then they put up visuals of someone else. And so I would recommend, if you are in a project, a group project, and you can redesign your own, how you would have visually designed it, and put that in your portfolio, I would highly recommend that, because then you don't run into awkwardness with, oh yeah, I was a part of this project, but I actually didn't design this screen. This is actually someone else's work on my website.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of be conscious of that.
Great. That's a good call.
Let's see, what other thoughts?
May I?
Yes, go ahead, Caleb.
I think one thing that's missing that would be really helpful is just an introduction as you come into these, and you called out a couple points, key points, but being able to provide that context out of the gate and say, this is what you're about to scroll through. The reality is, when I'm reviewing portfolios, for better or worse, it's maybe a minute's amount of time. And so you just have a brief moment to catch my interest and set the stage for what I'm going to be looking at. And it's really critical to have that introduction.
Absolutely. I feel like I know this persona better than I know you. Now, granted, there's a bit here, but I'd almost put this up front. I'd want to know who you are.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about how, I know it varies a little bit depending on the company and the situation, but like how you typically intake applications or portfolios. Do you have any context before you pull up a portfolio typically, or do you typically see it kind of cold like this?
Yeah. Generally, most things come in through a referral or in through applicants that go in through a job tracking system. A lot of companies do using something like Greenhouse. So I'll have each of those applicants in there in a list that I'm going through, or a recruiter will go through and they'll flag them in LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a recruiting platform that is a different side of LinkedIn that you normally don't see. And so they'll put together a project and you'll just have this big list of like 40 people. And so you're literally going through and it pulls them up and you just yes or no, yes, next, 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 positive, negative, positive, negative, next, next, next. It really is that fast as you're just scanning through them. And so like I shared with Dave and Caleb and Chantel earlier, for me, the number one thing that I do, you'll notice when I pulled this up, I clicked on about, and then I clicked on the LinkedIn link over here. That is the first thing that I do out of anyone, whether it's some coworker who slacks me a referral for a friend or a previous coworker, or whether it comes from a recruiter, whether I'm in Greenhouse or whether I'm in LinkedIn Recruiter. The first thing that I want is this right here. I want to see this person because this tells me a lot of the things that I wasn't getting from your portfolio. And my advice to you on your portfolio is fix that, put those things there so that I don't have to go find them. I mean, I'm still going to come here, but those things are important to me. This isn't just your work. It's about you. And in fact, I want to know more about you. That the thing is that there is so much work out there, so many pixels, so many iPhone templates that are leaning on their side that have beautiful dribble-esque interfaces laying on them, that we just see thousands of these things. I need to know what is unique about you. Are you passionate about typography? Are you an interface designer? Do you love research? Where have you focused? What kind of work do you want to do? You know, all of those things are almost more important to me than even seeing these projects. I need to see this to see what you've done and that you've actually been working on stuff, but you've got to make yourself stand out. And right now, this portfolio, there's nothing that is standing out to me. I could come up here and change the name to someone else and it doesn't make any difference to me. It looks like there's some good work here. And I'll say, if you are the visual designer, there's some good stuff going. As I was scrolling through some of these, seeing the variety of work, it looks like you've been taught well. It looks like you've done approached a lot of the different facets of product design, doing research and doing prototyping and visual design and all of that. But I really need to know more about you.
Great. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, there's a couple questions coming in, but just for the sake of time, I'm just going to go to one here. They say, you seem to kind of be brushing over the actual content of the projects. This may be because you're presenting to a group, but how much information is too much information? And what kind of information in the format would actually get you to slow down and read?
That's an interesting one, because for years and years now, we have been preaching the case study portfolio. And now I feel like there are a lot of people that are saying, you told us to do it, so we did it. And now you're telling us that you're not reading them, that they're too long and that they're all the same. The biggest problem is that they're all the same and they're too long. Yes, you need a case study, but no, we're not going to sit here. I'll be totally straight with you. We're not going to sit here and read through all of this. But here's the kicker. You know what we will read? Something that catches our attention and something that is unique. The number one problem is that it's been templatized, and that you have boot camps out there that have created a template and they've literally instructed the students to go to Medium and just crank this stuff out, and just like a factory. If you build this, you'll go get a job. And that's baloney. Every single one of them looks the same. And the problem is if you have an intro and you have a persona template, and then you have competitive review, and then you have especially something like this that looks like every other dribble splash, and then you have your wireframes that you did, and especially if you did Spotify, I swear everyone has redesigned Spotify. Like, if it's that exact same template that says, I went through the 5 steps of the things they teach you in a boot camp, that you've got to go do these 3 things, and then all of a sudden you're a UX designer because you did them. You had a persona and you sketched it and you did a wireframe, and like, everyone does that. A robot can do that now. And so if that's what your case study is, we're not going to read it, because there's nothing unique there, and we're just going to scroll past it. And so what would be better, instead of that template of all those steps, is throw all of that away and just say, hi, my name's Janet. I worked on this project. Here's the problem that we identified.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the role that I played in this project. Here's how I went and researched to determine what a good solution would be, and then how I validated that. Here's what I learned. Here's how I pivoted. Here's what I did next. And here's how I'm better because of it. And here's what I can contribute to your company because of that knowledge and skills.
Yeah.
And don't use a template. Take that story and go and craft that story however you want to tell that story, and be as concise as possible. Or you can be wordy as long as it's good stuff that is really going to compel us. I don't mind reading. I'll sit here and read for 5 minutes. If you draw me into it and I'm getting excited about you because of your talents and skills, man, I'll keep going.
Great. Yeah, that's I think really helpful insights there. So, all right. Next, so Wade, you may need to switch the host over to Chantel next. I think it seems to be the way we need to do screen sharing.
All right, how's that?
Yeah.
Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Cassian, already interested because we almost named our boy Cassian.
That's an unfair advantage.
But sometimes it's luck. Let's see about hi Cassian. I'm a product designer and illustrator based in London. Also unfair advantage. With an insatiable hunger for learning, excellence, and problem solving. I love detailed artworks, games, TV shows, and creating interactive designs. I love that hunger piece. I think that's what we all need a lot of, is to just stay hungry for things. Let's see, Level Studios. Looks like you jumped around a lot. I'd be interested to hear why that is. Are those internships? Are those contracts that ended? Are those terminations? Are those, what are those?
Okay.
Why is it that you jumped around like that? Spain, interesting.
In the chat, he said it's freelance work.
Okay.
So my advice is, if that's freelance, I would make that clear. That's really frustrating as a hiring manager if they look like they were, if you were employed there and it wasn't.
Yeah, I would also mention it on your LinkedIn so that, you know, I know that you're a freelance worker now looking for something more stable, or if you are just a freelance designer, that's fine too if you're looking for freelance opportunities. But I would clearly state that and mention that that's your intention and that's what you want to do or be.
He's got great hair.
Also unfair advantage, my goodness. Okay, a lot of scrolly effects. Personally, not a fan of that.
You're talking about the motion as you're scrolling?
Yeah, like this kind of thing. Ooh.
Didn't notice the hover effect too.
This is cool. Show me a little bit of your illustration that's not UX work. I like that. Okay, let's get into a case study.
That. Something unique about you that's related but slightly different like that is a huge win.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
one question that came in says, if you're more of a UX designer than a UI designer, will the lack of utter gorgeousness of your website and deliverables count against you? Thoughts there?
Not for me, but
I mean, I think for me in my current position, visuals are important because we don't separate at Chatbooks. We don't separate visual design and UX design. I know that some companies have specific UX designers and then they pass it on to visual designers. We don't. So for me, hiring at Chatbooks, it's important that visuals are part of your skill set.
I should clarify.
So it could
make it harder for you. Absolutely. Does it count against you? No. Meaning that you don't have to have that. But it does require you to put in more effort to make yourself visible.
Yeah, I also think that it's hard to describe it really, or to pinpoint and help you understand like why certain things are pretty or not, but sometimes you can see potential in visuals even if the visuals aren't perfect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like sometimes you can tell like, oh, this person has potential visually, but they're not quite there yet.
I think there's a challenge too as you're applying for jobs and knowing what the job the employer is looking for. So like if we were to do a critique of job postings, there are a lot of terrible job postings out there. You have no idea what you're applying to. It's just a generic descriptor. And it puts some responsibility on us as hiring managers to do a better job of being able to articulate, this is what we're looking for. So as you're crafting your portfolio and trying to refine it, you can speak directly to us and show how you hit that need. Because sometimes it does matter and sometimes it really doesn't.
Yeah. That gives me an idea
And
for our next event. We're going to let applicants pull up job postings and critique them.
there you go.
Because, yeah, that's very
With
true.
that too, I also don't think that it's a bad idea if you don't have a website, or if you're still working on your website, to create a portfolio that is specific for that job and just send it as a PDF along with your application.
Yeah.
A thought that I would share about that too, though, is I feel like too many people feel like they have to be everything. You know, kind of going back to that template I was talking about before. They feel like they've got to show that they can do everything, sketch and wireframe, prototype. I'd rather you be like, it would be a breath of fresh air if I saw a candidate that just was up front and said, you know what, I can't draw, but guess what I can do? And guess what I'm passionate about? This part of the process. I'm incredibly good at conducting research and recruiting participants and synthesizing data. And this is where I excel. And, you know, I'm trying at drawing, and here's some things I've drawn, but just that type of approach, I think, is so much more effective than just trying to be everything.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, let's keep scrolling. Is there another question?
Yeah, another one. Just how important is it that a site is mobile friendly?
Very. Period.
Gonna depend,
Do you
right?
want more?
Do you find yourself pulling up portfolios on your phone?
I very rarely do. So
Okay.
I think it'd be a mistake if it wasn't responsive, but
Yep.
I'm almost always at a desktop.
Same.
Yeah.
That's true.
Great. Yeah, let's do probably just about one more minute on this, and then we'll keep going to the next one just to make sure we have time.
Okay, you meet the client. So these snippets are nice. The challenge, short and concise. Our team was asked to focus on rebranding and design of their e-commerce website to increase brand awareness. My role, I was involved in the research, synthesis, ideation, prototyping, and testing phase, preparing the deliverables and for client, presenting our weekly progress while keeping the clients engaged with workshops. So I think this is pretty nice setup. Having these like short, very digestible snippets of the most important information first. This I find unnecessary, just adds clutter. I don't really care about that.
The deliverables too. I totally can see you saying that about the tools, but what about the deliverables on the right?
Maybe, but I would probably just add that at the end with the deliverables, maybe, or add it as another one of these instead of this format, because I completely glossed over that because I was uninterested in these two. So that's complete honesty. This also, like, this takes up my entire screen. Now I have another scroll, but I'm not really getting much out of this. Implementing the change. Not really sure. Not really into reading that much. Again, not a big fan of the, like, it just feels distracting. Like, there's so much happening here that I'm just distracted by everything that's happening that I'm like, okay, I don't even engage with the content because everything just popped out at me and I'm just gonna keep going. This is a nice touch though. Being able to kind of look through what's ahead of me, you know, what I still have to go through. I think this is way too much scrolling, way too long, because everything's really big. So I would just reduce what you're doing here. It's nice that I can jump to different areas but still, if you want me to look at everything, then this is not the way to do it. Also, I wouldn't do the
There is
scrolling
so
thing.
much motion.
Yeah. I mean, the visuals look nice, I'm interested. One thing that I see a lot, I feel like in portfolios, is that people think of visuals as an afterthought, and like kind of just the end of the row, and they don't go into describing why certain decisions were made in the actual UI. Because I've been on projects where we went through user testing and then had to change buttons, button colors, button positions, wording, that kind of stuff. I think that would be interesting to see even as you walk through that. And that's speaking from someone that, is looking for a person that can do both, can set up a prototype to be tested and create visuals that will eventually land in the app.
Great. That's good stuff. So yeah, I think we probably should keep it moving. Yep, and make sure we get to the last one here. So Chantal, if you can hand the host over to Caleb, and then.
All right. Is it working?
There we go. Yeah, looks good.
Okay. So first thing I will do every time is I want to know who I'm looking at. So I will always go to the about or resume or whatever is there to just try to get an idea of what level of experience does this person have and what should I be expecting? How would I evaluate them? I appreciate that there's kind of a personalized get to know you here, understand some interest and a little bit of the experience, how they came about design. Seeing Papyrus in there is always fun. Experience. Helpful. So, and honestly, those are the main things in the resume or the LinkedIn portfolio. I want to know your name. I want to know what's your current job, what positions have you had in the past, and where did you go to school? How were you trained? So that just kind of sets the stage. I will say right off the bat too, I appreciate that I don't have a lot of stuff in a nav, that there isn't a lot of fluff necessarily. It's just getting me to what I'm looking for, which is helpful. I'm always curious as to how many examples. So in this case, the fact that you have 2, my hope is you've said this is the 2 best things that I have, and you're putting your best foot forward, which I appreciate, because if there's a ton of stuff, I'm not going to be able to make it through it all, unfortunately. When I review a portfolio, I have 2 reads of it. So the first one is whether or not I want to interview you. And if I make the decision that I'm going to, I'll probably come back to it because I'm going to grill you on it when you come in. I want to know details of the decisions that you made. And that's kind of the starting point. So the first read is pretty fast. It's a summary. Give me an overview. You're defining your role on the project and the team, which is great. Who you're focused on, which is good. So you're helping to set up the problem and what I'm going to be looking at. I'm always looking to understand process. That's a big deal to me. I want to know what your process is. And I'm always considering how well that's going to fit with mine. How much am I going to have to train you as you come into my team, and what's that going to look like? The challenge is a big deal. One thing from my experience recently, I was interviewing some junior and mid-level designers, and one of the challenges I had, as Wade expressed, is they were all the same. And I got to the point where I was really looking for someone to present a train wreck. I was like, they never go perfect the way that you're showing me. So what did you learn, and where were you making assumptions and found this was off, and this is what I did to correct? And I just didn't get to see that kind of process. I think that a portfolio should be a narrative, and that means there has to be some tension in there. If it's just everyone lived happily ever after from the very beginning, it's kind of missing out on the reality of what it's like to do UX work, and I'm looking for that.
And I think with that too, as a hiring manager, we're looking for lessons you've learned, right? We're trying to figure out what mistakes have you made? What have you learned? Are you capable of learning from your mistakes? Because that's actually more important than having the perfect case study.
The graphics that go into these are kind of tricky because when I look at this, honestly, as I'm just scrolling, it doesn't tell me a whole lot. I appreciate that there's, you know, that you're working in low fidelity and things of that nature. So it helps to expose process, but I'm not likely to spend a whole lot of time dissecting the decisions that you made and stuff just as a reality.
I will jump in and say though that this is much more consumable for me than the last one was. The last portfolio was glossy and beautiful, and props to the programming that went into it to make all of that motion, but it was almost making me seasick. Where this is just this nice tight column, he's got headers with small consumable paragraphs. Like I can feel like I can consume this so much more effectively.
Yeah, I agree with you, Wade. It's and it is really easy to consume. I appreciate that a lot. I'm curious, just the conclusion. So we got lessons learned. Interesting. I didn't read enough. Admittedly, I just scanned through it, but I see something that's really nice here. I wish I understood better, and I think that that's just on my read of it right now in real time. If I spent a little bit more time, I would understand better what I'm looking at here, but I don't have much context. I appreciate the simplicity of this. It's not overthought, and that I feel like not only is this individual doing a good job presenting themselves, but they also are talking to me. Like they're hitting on a lot of the notes that I need to hear in order to be able to digest what they have, which is awesome. Let's see. Yeah, I wouldn't mind being able to get I guess you have it here, LinkedIn. So I can jump out. It might be nice to make that a little bit more accessible. That question that was raised earlier about whether you're just seeing this blindly for the first time as a hiring manager, how that works. A lot of the time I'm seeing them blind. So this is the first introduction I have, but I will say, like in posting things on Product Hive, for those that reached out, especially there's a life cycle in the hiring process. If you catch me early when the job is posted, I'm much more likely to go look at your stuff. But when you have 100 people doing that, there's a point where it also starts to feel obnoxious. So you kind of have to weigh it. You could kind of annoy the hiring manager, or it could be exactly what you need. Questions?
You know, one small thing that I always pay attention to is when you present the personas in your portfolio or in your case studies, how diverse are you in your personas? Are you just pulling up people that look exactly like you and at their photo, or do you try to actually empathize with multiple users, ethnicities, all sorts of diversity? So that might be something that not a lot of people think about, but try to be inclusive in everything you do.
Albert Packer is asking, what type of information are you looking for when you check people's bios? Experience, passions, personalities? I wonder if he's asking specifically about LinkedIn or the bio or the about page in their portfolio.
Yeah, I'm looking for all those things, honestly. Like I'm interested in all of them. One of the points that Wade mentioned is, where do you want to go? That's pretty important to me, because this is a good assessment of what you've done, but I'm really interested in your desire to grow as a designer and what you're aspiring to do and whether or not I can help you. Are we a good fit to get there?
I think your personality can shine in the bio just by the way you write it. Don't try to hold back on on who you are in writing your bio.
Caleb, will you unmute Dave?
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry. I muted myself because my dog was barking in the background out of habit, and then realized, oh, can't. We can't do it. This is great. Yeah, so we've got a couple minutes here left. This is, I think, been great info. I've certainly learned some things. Any other final thoughts or tips that come to mind that maybe we didn't cover or didn't come up in the portfolios that we looked at today? Nope. Got it all. All right. Great. Let's see here. Somebody asks, what about a locked case study?
A locked case study doesn't exist. Are you talking about a password protected website? That's what I assume.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, maybe a little more detail there might be helpful. But yeah, I mean, how with stuff that's under NDA, or have you guys run into that with the work that you've done in the past? How have you handled presenting that?
So I know I've had portfolios that have been given me that have been password protected, and I think that's to protect the integrity of some of the work that's been done. I've also seen instances where they adjust the design that's in there so that they remove any content or information that would be proprietary or cause a problem. Okay. I think you need to be wise in how you approach that.
Yeah.
If you pass along your portfolio with the password right next to it, okay. But if there is any more obstacle or friction in me getting into your portfolio, it might as well not exist. And I also tell you what, there's nothing more there's not a bigger turnoff than when I ask you to see some work and you say it's under NDA. So if you have work that you can't show, forget about it. Like go find other work you can show. I don't want to hear about your NDA stuff, because if I can't see it, don't even bring it up. It's just such a turnoff. So just like Caleb said, go redraw it or represent it in a way that you can. Go negotiate with your employer. I honestly feel like a lot of people just throw their hands up when their employer gives them any sort of friction. Fight back. I really feel like a lot of companies are unreasonable. Go and talk to them and say, what can I show? There's got to be something in here that I can show from what we've worked on. You've got legal departments that just throw out blanket statements that I don't think is fair.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Well, I just want to especially say thank you to the three people whose portfolios we reviewed today. Takes some courage to have your portfolio critiqued and reviewed in front of an entire community like this. So really, really appreciate those of you that we reviewed today, and then the rest of you that submitted as well, and we're also willing to go through that process. So, and then thank you to our panelists. You all had great, really candid feedback. I think this is a great window into like maybe some like the behind the scenes that we don't usually get to see, and just kind of that reaction, that process that we go through when reviewing candidates. So hopefully this was helpful to everybody out there. I know there are more of you looking for jobs right now than were previously, even just a couple months ago, due to the pandemic that we're all living through currently. So so hopefully some of this stuff helps you out and helps those of you looking for jobs, and then helps those who are reviewing applicants as well. Hopefully we can, like, if more people implement some of these tips, it'll make hiring managers' jobs easier too. So yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in today, and we will catch you all next time.
Awesome. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks everyone.